Konnichiwa and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to my full review of the Seiko Sumo. Surely one of the last sub $1,000 Seiko dive watches that I haven't either bought or borrowed for review on the channel over the last few years. And there is a reason for that. There's a clue in the name, isn't there? I always thought it was going to be too big for me. But I bumped into somebody just before Christmas who was wearing one and I tried it on and I thought, I could cope with that. And then when I saw one pop up at a good price from an Australian retailer shortly after Christmas, I took the plunge. I decided I would take on the Sumo. Now, I will talk about price later on. This watch is more expensive than the Turtle and Samurai ranges are, for example. But I have to say, you can tell where some of that money has gone. The level of finishing on this watch is way, way above any sub $500 Seiko that I have reviewed so far. But that's not the question today. The question is, can you handle the Sumo? Or more to the point, can I handle the Sumo? Let's flip the camera and find out. Okay, so the Sumo comes in exactly the same, slightly disappointing cardboard Seiko box as does the Turtle and the Samurai. It also comes with a warranty. Now the warranty will vary considerably depending on where you buy yours from. If you go grey market, i.e. eBay or Amazon, you are likely to get a 1 year 12-month warranty. If you walk into a Seiko bricks and mortar store, you are likely to get a 5-year warranty. However, the prices do vary considerably. I kind of split the difference. I bought this one from an authorised AD online here in Australia for 750 Aussie dollars. I got a 3-year warranty with it. I reckon that is a pretty good price. If I had walked into the Seiko boutique here in the QVB building in Sydney, they would have given me a 5-year warranty, but they would have charged me 1,300 Aussie dollars. I just don't think this watch is worth $1,300, and I don't think an extra 2 years of warranty is worth paying an extra $550 for. Australians seem to get a pretty good deal on this one. That equates to 420 British pounds or 580 US dollars. I was struggling to find Sumos for sale in either the UK or the USA for those prices. So hey, why don't you import one from Oz? So that is the price I paid then, and that price I think is good, and that's one of the reasons why I am pro Sumo today. It's going to get a generally positive review from me, this one. I'm also pro Sumo because I love the way it looks. It is just so purposeful. It's chunky, it's beefy, it's utilitarian. It's just here to do a job. Now, the last Seiko that I bought and reviewed on the channel was the King Turtle. I really enjoyed the King Turtle. Ceramic bezel insert, sapphire upgrade glass, I thought were great value additions to the Turtle package. However, it was trying a bit hard with that unnecessary candy bar cyclops and that crossed hatch patterning on the dial. This Sumo, on the other hand, is not trying hard at all. It has a matte black aluminium bezel insert, perfectly matching the matte black non-sunburst, non-reflective dial. It's not trying hard. It's not trying to grab your attention. It doesn't really care about you or your attention. It's just here to do its job, and I think it does its job really, really well. It is quite big though. Dimensions all important for this review, so do pay attention. 45 millimeters in diameter, so it is wider than either the Turtle or the Samurai, and yet only 13 millimeters thick. But it does have 51 lug to lug, so we've got a broad diameter, relatively slim, but a relatively long lug to lug. However, look at how that case turns. Look at the downturn of those lugs. That is going to be all important for getting 51 millimeters to fit onto my wrist later on. 20mm lug width is also an interesting choice. So bigger than the Turtle and Samurai, or just about the same size as both of those watches, but it has a narrower lug width, which I think, again, very interesting. Tapering down to 18, back up to 19.5 at the clasp, but sized up for me, 7-inch wrist, weighs in at 180 grams, so certainly plenty of heft. All stainless steel construction, stainless steel case, crown, bezel, and full stainless steel bracelet. Now we do have solid end links. It's the Seiko pin and collar system. Everybody loves the Seiko pin and collar system, and it is one of these Seiko clasps with diver's extension, security pushers, double pushers in the side and a fold over, and 4 levels of micro adjust. However, you don't get a mill clasp for your 750 AUD with a Seiko. You also don't get a sign crown, another typical Seiko cheapskate move. We've seen that time and time again. You do, however, get one of the best finished cases that I've seen on a watch for less than $1,000 Aussie dollars anyway. It really is super sharp and such a nice mixture of finishes as well. High polish to the upper edge, high polish to the lower edge, and it's super soft. It's beautiful to the touch as well, Seiko polish always. You've got a nice brushed edge along the center ridge of the watch, a nice brush surface to the upper lugs, transitioning to a polish where it meets the bezel, and two finishes, a brush and a polish on the edge of the lugs there. Those lugs are also drilled. Overall, such a nice effect on the case. And it's another one of these bracelets that looks fancier than it actually is. It looks like a 3-link oyster. It is in fact just a single link here. There's no articulation between the end links and the mid links. Pin and collar system, as I said, high polish on the side. Now the mid link of the end link is inverted, so again that helps it wear better than you would think a 51mm lug to lug watch would. And I like the bezel as well. It is considerably recessed, sunk into the case. At the 3 and the 9, check that side profile as well. Just a gorgeous case, this one. Kind of bows out from the bezel and then back in on the wrist. So again, it wears a little bit smaller than that 45mm diameter dimension suggests. That recessed, sunken bezel means you are going to have to grip it at the 12 and the 6 to manipulate it. No problem there though, it's a bit stiff on this model. I hear that is a common complaint of box fresh Sumos of this new 3rd generation. Everything lines up neatly, 120 click, unidirectional. Now as I said, that is an aluminium insert, but I will forgive it in a rare circumstance. I'm going to forgive it an aluminium bezel insert because that one looks great. I love the matte finish, I love the angle in towards the sapphire crystal, and I love the fact that they have shrunk those Arabics. I always thought the Sumo bezel looked a bit cartoonish. This one I think looks much more in proportion to the watch overall. A very nice screw down stainless steel caseback, screw down crown, helping this watch achieve an ISO rated 200 meters of water resistance. And that's that Seiko Great Wave style imprint in the middle there in high polish, which is all very nice. Prospex S because it is part of the Prospex range. Now made in Japan, and this one features the 6R35 movement. So a considerable upgrade from the previous Sumos, which had the 6R15. This bad boy has a 70-hour power reserve, which may be this particular watch's best feature. That's a bit of a meh set of numbers, is it not? Plus 16 seconds per day, the amplitude's okay, and the beat error, again, for a fairly fresh watch, I would have been expecting better. Anyway, 24 joule hacking and hand winding, bi-directional winding, quick set date function on this one as well. 21,600 vibrations per hour, so 6 ticks of the second per second hand. The jury is still out though as to whether these 6Rs are materially any better than the 4Rs in terms of accuracy and reliability, but the big advantage, as discussed, is that extended power reserve. But let's leave those slightly disappointing performance figures to one side for a moment and return to the dial where, shock horror, everything lines up perfectly. And not only that, I think the Sumo is one of the best looking Seiko dive watch dials that I've had the pleasure of owning and reviewing to this point. Just so purposeful, so clean, uncluttered, looks sharp all round. So a split triangle at 12, smaller triangles at the 6 and 9, circular indices everywhere else, and a printed frame around the date complication at the 3 o'clock. I'm not going to complain that the date wheel isn't colour matched because the white date wheel nicely balances that index at 9. The date frame is printed in silver, as is the Seiko name under the index at 12, and the Prospex X automatic and divers 200 meters above the index at 6. Now this is a Japanese made model, so you can just make out Japan and 6R35 just between the index at 6 and 7. Now there's an angled Rihote chapter ring, also printed in silver with larger 5-minute markers, colour matching nicely with the markings on the bezel insert. And then there's the Lume. Seiko's LUMIBRITE, as we know, glows like a Chernobyl nightclub. Big shout out to Al, who sent me the t-shirt I was wearing in the intro. If you fancy one for yourself, I'll leave a link to his store in the description of the video. LUMIBRITE is fantastic, and there's plenty of it on the hands, the indexes, and the Lume pip of this Sumo. So clearly I think it's a good looking watch, but how does it wear? Well, there's no disguising 45mm of diameter dimension. It looks like a big and chunky watch, but Seiko have made a number of decisions to try and offset that 45mm and make it wear better than you might think on a variety of different wrist sizes, including the sculpted in case, those elongated down pointing lugs, and 20mm lug width. 22 would really have chunked this up, but 20 brings it down, as does the taper, the fact that the clasp is actually smaller than the lug width. I can't remember a bigger taper from 45 down to 19.5. I think the James Cameron Deep Sea Sea Dweller was the only watch that has tapered more from the head of the watch to the bracelet clasp, but this Sumo wears better than the Rolex, I have to say. And that's the overhead shot. I think it looks pretty good, nice and legible from up here as well. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to people who have wrist sizes of 6.5 inches or smaller. I think you're going to end up with a bit of overhang in spite of all those steps that Seiko have taken to help it wear well. I think that is probably going to be the limit in terms of wrist size in that direction. Hey, if you're a bigger guy, I only took out 2 spare links, so you're probably limited to about 8.5 unless you want to put it on a rubber strap or a leather strap or something, but more on that later. Outside natural light, it also looks like Seiko have put a bit of anti-reflective undercoating on that sapphire crystal. White on black, fantastic legibility, and I just love that matte aluminium insert. The whole watch looks stealthy. I think it just looks great. And that's it on wrist. I feel that I've got a good fit with this watch. I just kind of nailed it in terms of links removed and micro adjust holes. 180 grams though is quite a substantial watch for me, so I am wearing this one maybe a little tighter than I would if the watch weighed 120 or 130 grams, for example. That's the kind of down wrist shot. You can see just how well that mid case curves onto my wrist. And the pocket shot, it is a substantial and imposing watch, but I don't think it's unwieldy. It's been a bit of a surprise how well it wears, in fact. This is all sounding far too happy and positive. What am I going to complain about? Well, unsigned crown and pressed clasp. Typical Seiko, 750 Aussie dollars, I can just about cope with that. $1,300, if I was buying it from a boutique, I wouldn't be all that impressed. And bracelet integration. A common complaint of mine is that Seiko seem to design the watch and then they design the bracelet entirely separately and then they stick the two of them together. It just doesn't look like these two belong to each other at all. The case is all angles, the bracelet end links are all curves, and as a consequence, that is actually a bit of a sharp edge there. Again, not particularly becoming of any watch at any price, to be honest. And everything may line up for once, but say it quietly, that loom pip isn't quite centered, is it? And something I've been considering over the last couple of months but haven't tried yet. Big diameter dimension, big long lug to lug, but only 20mm lug width. Now that is an advantage on the bracelet. It helps bring the watch down to size on wrist. How's it going to look on a strap? I'm not sure. Let's find out. So this is a 20mm sailcloth that I wear quite regularly on other dive watches, and we have a kind of no-moss style gap here. That's what I was worried about. Let's get it on wrist and see what it looks like there. Yeah, that looks frankly ridiculous. You can see my hairy arms poking out on either side. Maybe you could get a fitted rubber strap specifically for the Sumo to fill up that gap, but I don't think this is going to look good on the collection of 20mm rubber straps, leather straps, sailcloth straps you've got lying around the house. I reckon you're pretty much stuck with a bracelet, or you need to find something bespoke for the Sumo. So can I handle the Seiko Sumo then? Well, yes, I think I can. It wears quite differently from the cushion case style of Seiko divers that tend to be broad but have a short lug to lug. This one, I was initially a bit worried about that 51, but provided you keep it on the bracelet, I just don't think it works on straps. Yeah, it does actually wear quite well. One of the better wearing 180 gram watches that I have reviewed on the channel. Can you handle the Seiko Sumo? Well, that is a question that only you can answer. I guess if your wrists are the same size as mine or maybe a little bit smaller, then yeah, Seiko have done their homework here. It's going to wear well for you as well, provided you keep it on that bracelet also. So there you have it, the Seiko Sumo. Was I right to give this one a wide berth? Was I right to avoid it over the last few years thinking it was too big for me? Well, kind of yes, kind of no. Definitely wearable and a fantastic watch if you get one at the right price. So the question becomes not is it too big for me, but do I want to wear a watch this big? It's certainly wearable, but it is big and chunky, and that's something that you're going to have to contend with yourselves. If you can find one at the right price though, I think it is a fantastic watch. You get the 6-hour movement rather than the 4-hour. Case finishing is absolutely fantastic as well. Thank you for watching. I will see you in a future video.